for discussion is anger, or how to manage the emotion of anger. What is anger, Vyomkesh?
For me, anger, like if I want something, or if some work or anything should be done according to my opinion, if it is not happening, then um, I'm feeling angry. Like
That is the
I cannot
general,
express in a word.
yeah, that is the general idea about anger, or the general,
Mm.
even psychological definition of anger, almost like a definition. That is, if you don't get a desired outcome, if you don't get what you
Mm.
desire, or whatever you desire, you're about to get, or you have already got, but that somebody is removing, or some particular circumstance is removing. In short, you are not able to fulfill your desire or your goal, then you get this emotion called anger. That is at the very basic level. But then there is the another level where you get angry because, not just because you're unable to fulfill your desire, but because you see things which you don't like. It's not about your desire completely, but then it is like something is happening which is not to your liking, which does not fit with your worldview. It does not fit in with your worldview, with your perspective. Then you feel angry. And these are the main two things. And then the third one, which is unfortunate, is anger. In any case, is unfortunate, but this third category is more unfortunate. That is when a person gets angry without any reason. Without any reason. So that's a psychological disorder. When a person gets angry, cannot control one's anger. But this disorder, the state of disorder, comes when a person is unable to manage the emotion of anger at the first two levels. That is, the first level is when you are
Okay.
getting angry when you don't get anything which you desire, which is the majority of instances when a person gets angry. So, if a person cannot properly manage it that time, then it may lead to a stage when the anger becomes uncontrolled, when the anger comes without any reason. And similarly, for the second category, also where anger comes when you see things which you think are not correct. Like you see that the government does not function properly or other things. So then you get angry. Now, even this anger, if you cannot control it, it may lead to a psychological problem. It may lead to a psychological disorder. And most of the psychopaths or sociopaths, all of them have a deep rooted trauma, a deep rooted stigma. They have some kind of incident where they were victimized or where they felt a particular trauma or a shock, and that leads them onto the path of becoming a sociopath or a psychopath. So, in the end, they turn out to be antisocial elements, and in the end, they turn out to be criminals. But then, when such people are psychoanalyzed, if you read in various case studies, you will understand that these people became sociopaths or psychopaths because of certain situations which led to anger and their inability to cope with anger, their inability to understand anger, and also, unfortunately, they didn't have people around them to help them to cope with anger. It is very easy to cope with anger if in the case of a child, the parents are supportive, or in the case of a adult, friends or the spouse is supportive. If there is a supporting group, then it is easy to overcome anger, because the moment you see something wrong, there is somebody to whom you can speak out to. You can talk your feelings, you can just vent out your feelings, and then you can just open out your anger. That is a very remarkable and a very effective way to cope with anger. So anger is one of those emotions which produces its negative result almost immediately. For example, jealousy. In the case of jealousy, it will take a lot of time for you to actually understand or actually suffer the wrong effects or the negative effects. But in the case of anger, it is not like that. Even physical effects, which could be produced by your getting angry at somebody, and that person also may get in turn angry, or emotional effects which are produced, and also physical effects produced by you when you are in the fits of anger. You start doing so many things which you repent afterwards. So anger, for that reason, for these reasons, anger is a very powerful emotion and a negative emotion, and it has to be controlled. Swamiji Swami Vivekananda said, there is no righteous indignation. That means that there is no anger which is justified. Anger, by its very definition, is unjustified. Now, we also listen to things like how to use the emotion of anger. Many books on anger management will tell you that anger is an emotion and it is good to use it. Having said that, most of us are not even qualified, or we are not even trained to use this emotion of anger, because you can use a thing, an object, or an event, or a skill only when you are above that object, event, or skill, when you are in a position of control, when you are in a controlling position, not the other way around. When that object or event or skill is controlling you, you don't use it. For example, it is foolish to say that I am using the skill of smoking. I can smoke, so I am using the skill of smoking. If somebody says that, that would be very foolish, because you are not using the skill of smoking, but smoking is using you. It's an addiction, it's not a skill. Similarly, anger can be used. Sri Ramakrishna also in his gospel says that, in the gospel which was recorded by Mahendranath Gupta, we find Sri Ramakrishna saying that you need to, just like a snake hisses, you need to hiss, otherwise people will take you for a ride. So anger can be used in that manner only when you are completely rooted in your personality, when you are not fragmented, when you don't have a dichotomous personality. Now these are the basic things of anger. Now here what we are trying to understand is, we know all these things, most of us know all these things, and we study many things about anger. It could be tidbits in newspapers, it could be something you read on the internet, it could be something you watch on the television, or something you come across in magazines or newspapers. Okay, but it is difficult to actually implement those techniques or tips at handling anger, of managing this emotion called anger. And that is what creates problem, because almost all of us have at one point, at least in our lifetimes, been either a victim of anger or have created problem ourselves because of our getting angry. So now here what we would like to do is, we will try to find out these areas where anger can create problem, and also we may see some effective practical techniques to manage anger, and how in the long run anger can be completely removed, and if at all it should be removed, and if yes, then how, and if no, then what is the best method to control this emotion of anger, because we have to live in the world, and almost every day we come across many instances of anger and the havoc or the negative results caused by it. So, Byomkesh, what do you think of anger? What is your personal experience with anger?
These are all just like an incident, Maharaj. Like when normally we are living with, spending time with friends. If something comes up which is not fair, or sometimes when my better half do something, say something, and I do not feel that it is not the right way. Or if I sometimes if I found that this should be done in this time of period, but that not happened. So these are incident like when I'm feeling anger, but I'm not short tempered. Like I'm not feeling always anger. But when I feel that uh, after doing so much things, I cannot say. Like I have some period like I'm always not feeling anger, but sometimes I feel anger. But duration is too long, not too short.
Hmm. So, what happens when you feel angry?
Yes, what happens? Then I actually earlier I used to scold that person, him or her, in my mentally, not like face to not saying by words,
Yeah, you were
but
safely
mentally, and I
scolding that
am
person.
thinking long. Yes. Okay. It may be anyone. Okay. Then and then I gradually feel calm down after some period of, I know it will go after some period of time. So
Hmm.
that's how I used to do. But then last 1 or 2 years, I'm practicing not to scold mentally also to anyone.
Hmm. So this is not a very big angry thing, though you may see it as an emotion which is staying in your mind or in the back of your mind, but that is also has to be worked on, but that is not a big thing. Like there could have been more violent episodes of anger or more aggressive episodes of anger. Papia, you have any experience?
Maharaj, one more thing I
Yeah, yeah. Tell me,
no,
tell me,
Maharaj, one more thing I have
tell me, tell me,
yeah,
tell
one
me.
more thing I have experienced. Like if I found something like that is not correct or something, or for some reason I am not satisfied with some person, and if I am keeping that same thing in mind, and I'm keeping it, one day it's burst out. Like with everything, I found that I had that thought, some angry on that personal person, and
Hmm. So this is the
that particular person.
Vyomkesh, this is the platform. So if you're angry with me, you can tell it right now. I mean, I don't want you to burst
No,
out.
no, 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 no. It was it was happened earlier, but then I realized it. I'm trying to stop,
Mhm.
but it's not better. Now, Papia, I'm handing over my.
So anger has been a problem for me for quite a long time earlier in my life, and problem because of anger. Maybe I used to say that, like, whenever I used to feel that something is not right, or in my professional life, in my personal life, with my friends. So I used to say it bluntly when I
Mm.
am angry. And
Mm.
I've seen that even if the thing that I'm saying has logic and it's actually correct, but because the way that I am saying it, the actual meaning is not going to anybody's ears. The expression, the way that I have put in, that is actually going, and then nothing else is going, and it's gone totally, like, in a different direction. So from like couple of years now, most of the time I try to practice, like, like whenever I am angry, I try to just think that, okay, it's just for small time, it will pass on, and nothing matters. That's what I try to think.
Yeah. Now here, Papia,
There's a
you have brought about a very important point. You see, anger, as almost all the other emotions we are talking about, negative emotions, even positive emotions like love, etc. It again depends on what is the situation you are in, because that very positive emotion of love can become negative. So anger or all these emotions, they come when we are dealing with the other people in interpersonal relationships, interpersonal exchanges, interpersonal behavior. That is when you come across this. And mostly, and why do you get angry? Because you want to communicate something to the other person about that person's behavior, or that person's thought, or something that person is doing or failing to do, and so you get angry. Because the other situations when you get angry are not interpersonal, like when you are just angry on yourself, so that is not interpersonal. But most of the cases when we get angry instances, it is interpersonal. Now here comes a bigger question, that when you get angry, as you rightly said, Papia, that the other person switches off the communication channel. When you get angry, it's not about the particular thing you're talking anymore, but it is about how you're talking. It's about you shouted at me. It's about you called me names. Why did you insult me, etc. Then the whole focus of the topic or the discussion is lost. And that is a big blow to the very thing which you are going to tell, or which you want to tell to the other person. You want to point out a particular defect or a particular thing wanting in the other person's behavior, or you want to clarify something, some misunderstanding, and because of anger, that whole point is lost, and maybe that person will stop talking to you for so many days, or maybe forever. We don't know. Now, that is a thing which makes a person more frustrated and more angrier. I am trying to tell you something and you are not able to listen to that, and then you say that you are shouting, and then I say, but if you do like that, I will also have to shout, and all that, and it goes on and on and on, and then finally I become angrier and angrier, and then it only leads to the aggravation of this negative emotion. So here, what we need to understand is, whenever you are communicating something to somebody, it could be anything, the focus should be only on the thing which is being communicated. So when you communicate something, when you are telling something to somebody, don't bring the relation you have with that person. Don't even bring that relation to your mind. For example, in an office scenario, suppose you are the boss and you have a person working under you, your subordinates. So you want to tell something. Obviously, when you want to tell something, means you want to point out some defect in the subordinate's performance. And you call the person separately. At that time, you should never ever think in your brain that this person is subordinate to you, or that if the person doesn't perform, you can actually fire that person, or that you can give that person a very bad rating. Don't bring these ideas into your mind. Just remember that you are pointing out in a very friendly way. You want to point out that this is an underperformance going on, and there are avenues, or there is scope for improvement. It could be the other way around also. It could be a house situation where it is a spouse talk, husband, wife, etc. And there the wife wants to tell something to the husband, and but at that time, don't think that it is because you love your husband you are telling this, etc. Don't bring those relationships there in your mind. Just tell it matter of fact way, in a matter of fact way, that you see this is what is happening. Because if you bring the relationship, that is how most of the or almost all the interactions get confused or convoluted. Because then you say, I have been married to you for so many years, and you see I have never done this and never done this, and then the whole relationship part comes in, and the whole small incident gets out of your hand, and it is blown up out of proportions. That happens because you, when you're talking, you bring that thing of the relationship. So one thing is, whenever we have to tell something which is unpleasant, don't bring into your mind the relationship which you have with that person to whom you are telling this. It could be a friend, it could be a subordinate, it could be a colleague, it could be a partner or a spouse, whatever. And the second thing is, it's always good to use humor. The best method, one of the best methods to counter anger is to use humor. You see, when you want to tell something unpleasant, if you tell it with a smile, maybe sandwiching it between jokes or putting it in a very light way, it is very effective. It is very effective, and there is no bad atmosphere. But it is not possible to completely avoid situations of anger. You may not be angry, you may avoid situations of anger from your side, but it is not possible to avoid situations of anger completely, because other people may be angry for various reasons, and as I told you in the beginning, it could be also a psychological reason, so that you cannot avoid at all. A person may be angry just for the sake of it, just angry for being angry, so we can't help that. But what we can do is, we can control the situation, manage the situation well using humor. For example, a colleague can, a boss can tell a subordinate that, you see, how are things going on in your house, etc. And you please, okay, yeah, please see, if you want some vacation, go for a vacation and all, but please just keep an eye on me also, and the work I gave you also, like that. You can make it in a humorous way, you can put it. It is possible. So we have to always remember this
Okay.
thing, that the moment you bring anger before all other emotions, your relationships get spoiled, and then whatever you want to tell is also forgotten. That is not important. Then the next time the person says that this person, she was angry at me, she shouted at me. For what, they will not say, which is a big issue in parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But parenting is another place where you sometimes need to put a face of anger, but not becoming angry. It's very tricky, but then that has to be done, particularly in the case of parenting, and sometimes also in the case of getting work done by other people. It depends on the region, it depends on with whom you're dealing with. For example, you may be the boss of a company, you may be the CEO of a company. The way you talk to a, say, your financial officer will not be the way you talk to the person, the shop floor technician or someone who has to be dealt with in another way. So all these things we have to understand, and accordingly we have to manage this emotion of anger. Shubhadeep, you have anything to share?
Yes, Maharaj. So I was just thinking about a few points regarding anger. So I think the basic thing is anger comes out of attachment. So mm, the the long built up kind of anger. So coming to like who or what uh, on what issues am I angry. So I would like to divide it into like two or three segments. So first is in the in the professional setup or in the working sphere. One is in the day-to-day activities, like you go on the road and some you shopkeeper or some taxi person or cab driver, you get angry, or you become a victim of cheating, and also you tend to become angry. So those are like passing by kind of incidents. You become angry and you get over those incidents after a while. In workplace also means, as you pointed out, so there are like issues of underperformance, somebody not doing your work, not listening to you and all. So again, that may be somewhat more a longer period of anger and this stress that goes on. But in families and in relationships where there is more attachment, so there this anger and the stress kind of builds over a period of time, and it just goes on and on and on, and one sudden fine morning it erupts. So, and since we cannot end the relationships in the family, and also it once in a while, after maybe another 15, 20 days or 1 month, or at some other later point of time, again those old incidents will keep coming back. So there, I think the means the main and this is, I think, that means for me, I think this is more a serious kind of a problem that we should acknowledge, because this is this is a long term problem, and it is due to attachment, which is again a more serious kind of an issue to tackle. So if the person or is too close, or you are too concerned, then only you may be angry. That is number one. And so we have to analyze what is it that I am being angry upon. So is it the behavior or conduct, or some immoral activity, or it is simply a matter of some interest? You like this particular movie, I like this particular movie, and or this particular dress and this particular thing. So means the issue can be very trivial, and it can be highly more fundamental as well. So we have to analyze it, and then take it with a discussion and dialogue, rather than getting aggressive about it. So also means one other point. So regarding anger, so means one element is there are people those who are too expressive about their anger, and there are people those who are not that expressive, but they keep it to themselves, and then it just builds up. So then it has an impact on the deterrent impact on the personality of the individual. So I think we have to have a balance between these two aspects. If we are too aggressive, then also there is a problem, and if we are too reserved about the anger, then also there is a problem. Means I have seen people, those who in our families and all, those who have cold war, they don't speak to each other for months and years together. So those are, I do not know how to address those things, because they may be for some very valid reason, but it kind of keeps on working in the mind, and it leads to a lot of stress. So I think this is a more chronic problem, and we should try to address it, try to resolve it as much as possible in the workplace. And those other things, those are relatively easier to work upon. And even if we do not means, of course we have to have a balance, but as you said, so the way you deal with the workers and the officers and clerks, so there is a kind of a difference, and you have to when you have to get the work done, you have to take them to task also at one or the other time if the person is not doing the work. but that is all acceptable. But in the family and relationships, when things go very haywire and they just cannot move with each other within husband and wife, or within the brothers or the sisters or their parents, so those are very serious, I think, and they should be resolved as soon as possible without keeping them like on and on for years and ages. That's all.
So here the main thing is that anger is a long-term emotion, and and then it has to be controlled or managed accordingly, and it comes because of desire, etc. Now here one important thing is that you need to have a emotional support system. uh, for example, now
Raj,
you
before that, I wanted to say something. Uh, Shubhadeep said, it is long-term emotion. I don't agree with that. Actually, it may be like that. It is temporary madness, and after that, its effects carry on. It is not a long-term emotion as such. And that's what I think.
no what he said, the same thing you said in a
There,
different way.
there are cases in the families and family feuds, some legal problems, or between the brothers there is some business kind of a setup, and the one brother doesn't kind of cheats the other brother, and they don't have talking terms, or even the like with parents also, these kind of problems happen. So those are long term problems, right?
No, but what
Anyway, we all.
even what Sagar says is the same thing, that the
Mm,
anger lingers on for a long time, means the same thing. It is a long term problem in its own way. Now here what we need is a support system, emotional support system. It could be at an emotional level, or it could be a spiritual level, depending on the person. At an emotional level, you need to have a support system where you can actually vent out your feelings, and even if not to that person, like kind of a sounding board where you can tell the things and you can get a feedback. The best thing is to depend on God, or to be totally spiritual, but then that is very difficult and very few people can practice it. So for the rest of us, it is good that we have a support system. Um, and how do you have that support system? You need to have either a friend or somebody who will tell you to act. And now the point is that even in this family feuds, etc., why does that happen? Because people have not talked for like ages. So if they just talk, it is just by talking this can be cured. Mostly it is only about talking. You just
right.
talk and it can be cured. But people don't talk because they have all these ego problems and all that. So if there is a support system, if somebody is there to whom you can go to, then that person may tell you, that person may advise you that, oh, you talk. So if you talk, all these pent up emotions can be removed. And also, if you don't talk directly to the person, you may see the whole situation in a different light if you have a person with whom you can share it. Suppose you have a friend, that person, the friend may give you a counter perspective also. The friend may say, oh, you are telling this, but maybe that person is thinking like that. So it is very important to have an emotional support system. It could be anybody. It may be somebody who is very junior to you in age, etc. And it works miracles.
Right.
It could be somebody, like it could be, suppose there is a father, it could be one's son or daughter or somebody. But that person may give you so many good insights, because here what is important is that person should have an average intelligence and emotional bonding with you. Any person having an average intelligence and emotional bonding, even if that person is studying, say that child is studying in 5th class, may give you very wonderful insights which you can directly apply. because the important thing is that the person feels connected to you and wants something good of you. So then that person will give you a lot of insights. You see, so this is very important for the problem which Shubhadeep told, that you should have a support system. Mostly in families, what happens is, at least in the Indian families, particularly in families which are like joint families, there is a lot of stigma or taboo attached with people, who can speak to whom and what you can speak, etc., etc., etc. So you cannot
Right.
actually speak whatever you want. So, and you cannot speak to all
Right.
people. So that is mainly,
Right.
you see, most of the times that is the thing which creates problem, that you are not allowed to tell what you feel like. You are not allowed to speak at all. When that happens, then automatically it is difficult for you to have any discussion. And most of the things, you see, if you just talk, most of the things are solved. But as I told you, there are things which will not be solved by just talking, because there are people who will be mad just for the sake of being mad, who will be creating problem just for the sake of creating problem. Those people cannot be handled. But if you have a good support system, you will get some kind of hearing. You will be some sounding board will be there, where people will hear you out. Okay. And so that will help you. So this we have to constantly remember, that we need a emotional support system. Sagar.
That is true.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, once you are angry, you lose your whole control, and then to get back that emotional support helps very much. Even if it is from small child, also that also helps.
Hmm.
Sagar,
Yeah,
if someone lose his whole control, he won't be able to think to whom he will, from whom he will get support.
yeah, that also sometimes creates problem, because because sometimes back, it happened with me. I was angry with my brother, and then I suddenly came across my sister, and she was supportive to me, and then I suddenly got angry with her as well. So so that happens. I don't know how to control that.
No, it is good, because some people will be there who can like take your anger, who can just listen to what you're saying. So they will just listen, and maybe after listening, they will give you some treat, or they may pat your back or something like that. So that kind of people, yeah, there are people like that, right? In
Yes,
everybody's life, there are
yes.
people. So those type of people we need to concentrate on.
I think they are the elders, like the grandparents and all. They have a big role to play actually.
Yeah, but it need not be the elders. It need not be the elders alone. It can be like some other person also, who will just listen to you, and they will say, "Oh, okay, okay. Now let us have a cup of tea or something." So there are people like that. So you need to just focus on them, or you need to get help from them.
Maharaj,
Yes.
nowadays
Hmm.
people are staying with two persons. That case, how to whom they will
Yeah, that
from
is
whom they
why
will get the
nowadays
support.
nowadays there is lot of attendance with therapist also. Therapist
What
means
happened?
therapists or psychologists get more people nowadays because of this very reason. No? They are staying alone, so whom to talk to? So they
Right.
go and give money and talk.
Oh.
They went out their built up stress.
See, when like I joined in the professional life, Then first time I found there is a cold war also. There was a hot war,
Right.
and in the professional life there is a cold war, and I saw actually exactly in my eyes how cold war happening.
Uh, Now you are fortunate that you got to see professional Cold War. Many people don't get this Cold War till they marry. Only after marriage they.
Maharaj, in marriage, it's all hot war. Amne samne, it's never cool.
No, I was not talking about you two. I was like telling general.
Okay, Maharaj, I have one question actually. So it's all about like if we get angry, what if the other person get angry for no reason and how to deal with that situation?
Yeah.
Because it happens sometimes.
Yeah, it
Because
happens.
you know
So you
we don't
see,
really. If there is a sometimes there is a valid reason. Yeah.
yeah, it happens with me all the time. Partly because I am in a position where many people come to me and talk about their problems. So recently I was like praying. It was an online chat, and I was praying that this person doesn't do any harmful thing to me, not harmful to me or in any way. So I was literally praying that, means not out of fear or something, but because there were this was from a person who was belonging to a different country, and a country with whom India politically does not have a very good relationship. So, and it was an online chat. I was anonymous, but the person knew that I am chatting from India, and the person was not. The person was also anonymous, but told me that I am from this particular country and had undergone a very severe trauma in childhood. And so I was trying to just listen to that person, and then suddenly, as it happens with people who have undergone trauma, it is called post trauma stress disorder. This person started simply scolding me, insulting me for no rhyme, no reason. And I told that, but I want to help you. And this person says, yes, I know that. So I know that. So it's like in house, when a boy or a girl is bullied in school, that child comes to the house and starts scolding the parents because that is the only person the child can scold. So it was like that, and it went on for 2 hours, 2 hours, more than 2 hours. And so I understood that this person is actually getting benefited or feeling very comfortable with me. Else, why would somebody chat for 2 hours? A text chat, but why would somebody do that? So, so I just kept on. I just listening to all kinds of stuff that person was telling me. So sometimes if it is one-to-one conversation when somebody is in front of you, then all you do is you pray or calculate how much damage that person can cause to your face if some punches come. So that's what you can do, like you, but it is necessary, it is needed. I see it all the time. People want an ear to tell their problems, you know. Some months back here, a group of devotees came, and there was this devotee, and I just asked, she said that I want to talk to you, and then just I just asked something. I did not even properly phrase my question. And then she started, and that's all. There was no full stop. She went on and 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 on, and that conversation never ended. Actually, I was disturbed in between. Of course, I had to take food and I have to sleep and all that. So, and also do work. So that conversation never really ended, and she went away. But till she was there, and whenever she could get any time, she was just continuing one conversation. That's all. And it was not much of a conversation. It was a badly phrased question from my side, and it was just answer to one question. So then I figured out that she has pent up emotions, so much of feelings, so many feelings which are, repressed or suppressed, which need a vent. So
Right.
so when you are listening to people who get angry for just like that, unless it's a sociopath or a psychopath with a gun in his hand or her hand, it is better to just listen. And if you see the gun, then just run. That's what. Or hide or do whatever. Because a person angry with mouth, they may scold you. But with gun, you know what they will do. So, or a knife and all that. There are so many instances. The best thing is, don't, you see, when somebody is speaking to you in a very angry mood, don't talk. Don't talk. Just listen. Don't talk. And even if you have to talk, don't talk in reply to what is being told. Don't reply. If you have to talk, like somebody is scolding you, go to the fridge, take a cool water and give. Of course, that will also make the person angry, saying that you are trying to cool that person. So don't give cool water. Maybe just sit there and ask, what will you have? Suppose it is a husband-wife situation, then you can ask, what will you have for dinner, etc. Means totally unconcerned with what is going on, and that may again increase the anger. But then don't smile, don't in no way insult that person, but just be calm and neutral. And unless that
Maharaj,
person,
from my personal experience,
yeah,
uh, from my personal experience, I can say that this really increases the anger.
yeah, it increases.
Because
The first phase is
Because
the first phase is the first phase increases the anger. But then if you just keep quiet, and don't go away, look to the person and just listen to that what that person is telling. After some time, this is the most effective thing, because I have seen it never fails. You see, the person will not just cut the ties, or will not just go away. That person will come back to you. Only thing is, you should not tell anything. Just listen to that person. And Yeah, what you're telling is correct. That when you keep quiet like that, then they say, "Aren't you listening to what I'm saying? Are you deaf? Can't you listen what I'm telling? Why are you not replying?" Like that. There will be a lot of this thing, and then you just keep quiet like that, which is very difficult. Particularly when they will start like, "You are like this because your whole family is like this. I know your father, your mother, your grandfather, your grandmother. They are all like that. That is why." What can one expect from a person who is born in such a family like that? So when you hear statements like that, it is very difficult to keep. And then they will start, "Oh, you belong from this particular place. You are like that. All those people are like that. I know," etc., etc., etc. So then it is difficult to keep a straight face. But if you do that, then after the initial hurricane and tsunami is over, that person will come back to you. I mean, this has happened all the time. It has never failed, for me at least. And it happens. So, but it is very difficult to, that's what, it's very difficult to go through the phase, because the immediately when a person sees that you're not getting angry, it's like a challenge to that person. So the person will go to your father, mother, all your DNA testing will be done there. So you have to be very silent and quiet. And the other thing which you can do in the initial stages of managing emotion, that is managing anger, is that simply quit. When you first get angry, means when the anger just comes as a thought, quit. Don't wait. Don't try to control anger, because you cannot. It is impossible to control anger. If it is not coming, then it is okay. But if you feel the person is telling, you are तुम्हारे घर में तो ऐसा ही है, तुम्हारे पिताजी माताजी सभी तो ऐसे ही हैं, or your father mother everyone is like that, then the moment you hear that and you feel like, what is this, then immediately go away. leave the place. Go to some restaurant, go anywhere, go get out of the place, go get out of the office or the house or whatever it is. Simply run. Here, one statement of Holy Mother is very good in the context of managing emotions and particularly in the context of managing anger. The original statement is in Bengali. She says, Jarache boy, tarache joy. Means one who fears conquers. One who fears conquers. So it it sounds paradoxical. How is that a person who has got bhai or fear can have jay or victory? So the idea is not fear from the other person, but fear of oneself. One who is careful of one's own behavior. One who is careful of one's own fear means vigilant or alert. One who is careful about one's own behavior is victorious. Is victorious.
Right.
So that we need to remember. We need to remember that. Anna?
Yes. Well, I think for me, fear, the anger usually comes because I judge according to my knowledge and my opinion of the situation. So then I judge, and usually there is fear, like, this is not right. So according to me, this is not right, and then I need to do something, and then I sometimes get upset about it because it's not being done the way I think it should be getting done, or people are not doing the way they should be doing the things. And usually it's about the people that you actually care about, that this fear comes, and then it kind of turns into anger. But also, like, my experience was that very often when I would get, let's say I would have an issue, discussing this with a friend was not always helpful, because sometimes they were so sympathetic that they would actually fuel the anger and the frustration. So they would be on my side, sort of, against the other person, and that happened more often than not. So that kind of taught me that when somebody else is discussing their situation with me, I don't really try to sympathize with them in that way. So not in a way that I know will fuel their anger, because even if they're right and the other person is wrong, maybe it's not the best way to say it, because then, like I said, it sometimes just fuels the anger and the frustration that you're feeling. Even if you calm down a little bit, you're going to discuss the situation with your friend, and they're going to tell you, like, oh yes, and they're going to put like additional things in your head, how this other person is terrible and how could they do that, and this is completely crazy and you can't let it go. So sometimes it's not helpful, actually. You have to, if you have the right person to discuss it with, then yes. But if you know that the person is likely to sympathize with you in that way and just feel your anger, then you have to kind of maybe stop right away and not go into that. And also, when it comes to handling it with humor, that can also sometimes you have to really see how the situation is going, because the other person might feel like you're not caring, like you don't care, like this is just a joke for you. So that may again anger them even more and leave some frustration and not resolve. The situation might not necessarily get resolved.
Yeah. So the situation where I was talking about using humor is not when a person has become angry. That is when you have to tell something which is unpleasant, and you have to tell to somebody whom you have to tell it to. It is then when I said or suggested that you use humor, definitely not when already anger has come into play, because then people
Yes, but
yeah. So even in that case, you see the person to whom you have to tell this, and then you decide whether you use humor or not. Like there could be a
yes,
person.
sometimes.
Yeah, there could be a person who is always with a grouch and all that. Definitely that's not a good idea to use humor to that while talking to that person. So
Yeah, and you also sometimes, if you want to communicate things that way, it can cause confusion, because some people are going to say something in a sarcastic way, and then you're kind of left wondering, did they mean it? Is there a little bit of truth behind that? Were they just kidding? So I find that sometimes it's better to communicate something straightforward, but maybe with kindness. Of course, definitely not with like anger and accusations.
Yeah,
Try
humor
to
again,
get the message across.
yeah, again, when I said humor, it's like in a fun way humor, not the what you call the sarcasm kind of thing. And also, if you can, for example, the best way to do is to just have a pleasant smile on your face when you're telling something unpleasant. Just not laugh, but then just have a smile, because I found that that kind of makes it very pleasant to hear. Unless suppose somebody has done something wrong, nobody wants to become wrong, or nobody wants to do things wrong, but then somebody has done something wrong and now you have to point it out to that person. Now if you say that with a angry face and all that, it doesn't go so well. But if you say, as you put it, kindly, that is with a pleasant smile on your face, and not making fun, or not with a sarcasm note of sarcasm, you just say that, oh, this is how, I definitely think that's not what you wanted to do, but this is how it has happened, so please, etc. Because that situation is a big
Yeah.
situation when anger comes. It's mostly when a person
Yes.
is told something unpleasant, when anger sets in. Either because of the way you
And
have said, and or it could be so many other things. So that's one thing. And second thing is, when you want to confide to a friend, of course you have to see whether the friend is mature enough to handle such situations. I mean, as you said, most of the friends think they are friend because they are on your side, but most of the times that doesn't work that way, as you rightly said. Just by being on your side, they may not be helping you. In fact, they may be harming you. They may be giving you the wrong advice. So that also you have to see whether the friend or the person to whom you are confiding, with whom you are confiding, whether that person is good enough, like whether that person can understand.
yeah, that's it. And you can quickly see that with experience. So if the
Yeah.
person is always making you feel worse, in the end, you kind of feel it. If they're making you feel angrier, then you should wonder, why. And also, I find that it's great to find tools to handle anger and not let it take over, and just to change our perspective and change our opinion, and just not to take everything so seriously. Because when we take everything so seriously, and we also um, we're in a way giving away our power and the control to sometimes even complete strangers. Somebody can get you angry on the bus, on your way back home from work, and if you actually do get angry and you have an angry reaction and you keep it in you, then that can ruin like your whole day or even your week or something. Or even some people, even a month later, they're talking still about it, something that happened, and it was with a complete stranger, and it's just fueling their anger all the time. So I think it's very important that we don't waste our time, our energy, and our health on feeling angry. So the sooner we can get over it and have a different perspective and accept it, I think the better it is.
Mm. So that's what, if you, at the end of the day, uh, I think if you have a higher idea of yourself, if you have a higher notion about who you really are, then it's easier to manage all emotions. Same with anger. If you think you're the body or the mind, etc., then it's difficult, because then, as you said, you're going to take everything very seriously. You, because you are the body and the mind, so you have to stay in society, you have to deal with people. So if you see that you are not getting that particular electricity connection, or the infrastructure is not good, or people not working properly under you, and you may not be able to meet the deadlines, so people will not pay you, and in turn you will not get those comforts which you need to live. All these things, they have a snowball effect, and then you finally become angrier and angrier, because you take things too seriously, because you give yourself a position, you give your body and mind more importance than they deserve. For example, a person who is always thinking of death, say one day my body will die, or may not be a spiritual person, may not be a person who is religious, but even a non-believer may think of the fact that the body is not going to be here for all the time eternally. So then that person can become more humble. A person will have more and more of humility, and then the very approach, the very worldview will change. So one reason why we get angry more is like, just like we see with pampered kids, is that you give more importance to things which are basically not important. So that is also one thing. We shouldn't give more importance to things, that we need to remember. And of course, then you have all these what you call shortcut methods. But in my experience, they don't really work. For example, if you just Google anger management, you will get this 10 methods, 10 tips to control anger. What is that? Breathe heavily, breathe deeply, or then count from 1 to 10 or 1 to 100. And of course, one thing is leave the place, that sometimes works, and like that. But these things may sometimes, suppose somebody is angry at you, or you get angry and you start inhaling and exhaling very deeply, the person may get actually angrier. Or you start like 1 2 3, or if you are initiated into some kind of mantra, you start repeating the mantra. All these things can actually put off that person. So I don't think that's a good idea, and also these things don't work in the long run. In the long run, what will work is to understand where you position yourself. You may be a religious person, you may not be a religious person, but what do you actually think you are? Do you think you are this body? Do you think you are that mobile phone or the laptop, or that particular project, etc.? So where do you root your life in, or where do you identify with? What do you identify with? That is very important. And the more we identify with higher ideals in life, it could be higher, means it could be something intellectual, philosophical, or even emotional. Emotional in the sense something connected with your life. Like if you are identified with your family, with your love and all that, then these instances of getting angry, or instances of getting disturbed by somebody getting angry at you, will come down a lot. It's because we think ourselves to be, puny creatures, we face this.
Whereas
Hmm.
sometimes we just the other person, we need not be able to find a person to be angry with, but we tend to fume within ourselves. So how good or bad is that?
Huh. How good or bad is that? So, do you think it is good?
No.
Sometimes, I mean, if a person rebukes you or scolds you somewhere, or some person cheats you, so you may not be able to respond to that person directly, but you tend to fume within yourselves for maybe hours together. So
Yeah, but no, no.
how to
But
deal with that?
your question was how good or bad is that? Do you think this is good?
Well, means suppose a boss rebukes at you, so you cannot respond to him directly at this point of time. So maybe you have to keep your whatever frustrations or to yourself. So that is good in that sense that you are not reporting back to him with another set of harsh words. But if it means if you are means lingering onto that, holding onto that emotion for long stretch of time, then it becomes a problem, right?
No, see, we should understand one thing. Reflection and anger are two different emotions. Somebody scolded you. Suppose somebody is rebuking you, and then you you think over that. Why did this person rebuke me? You just go over that, whatever happened. You reflect. That's called reflection. You just reflect, and then you say, oh, this is what I did wrong, and that is why this person was angry or scolded me. And then you correct yourself, or you resolve that in the future you will not do such mistakes. That is not getting angry. So that is a positive way of handling a rebuke. Because suppose a teacher scolds you, or somebody, your boss scolds you, or even your parent scolds you, then you just reflect on, yes, it is being told for my own good, and then this is what I have to do. But that is how it should be done. That is reflection. But getting angry, many times it may be followed with by reflection, but that anger part is not going to help you, because what is happening is you will negatively think, oh, I am doing so much, and yet this teacher couldn't appreciate me and scolded me, and you constantly fume and fret inside your mind. And afterwards you realize, okay, after doing this for 2-3 days, you realize, okay, let me see what the teacher said. So that 2-3 days you spent on fretting and fuming on this scolding, you have actually lost. That was a sheer waste of time. And also, it created some negative emotions against the person who scolded you. So, the response is different in different people. For example, if it is a child, then the child starts crying and all that. So, the period for which that crying went on, it's a waste. Now you may say that's how a person learns. Yeah, it is true. That's how we all learn, and we all have had to go through such phases at least once in our lifetimes. But then that is no good. So what we need to do is we need to reflect. First, whenever somebody is getting angry at you, first thing we should do is we should just keep calm, and not at that moment. After that conversation is over, you come to your place, you come out of the conversation, out of that place, and then you think, reflect, why did this happen? What was it that I did wrong? And it is at that moment, when talking to a mature friend who can actually help you by not just supporting you but giving you unbiased, you know, appraisal of the whole thing, a person who can do like that, if you talk to that person, you see, this is what happened. So that person, because not automatically we think our side is correct, so we will tell also only those things which are which can be told. You scolded, that you may not say. You also behaved badly, that you would not say. So you should have a friend who will ask, okay, then how was your behavior? How did you behave? Then you will have to forcibly say that, no, I also scolded, etc., etc. So that kind of a friend or a mentor, if you have, then you can go and confide. And if you don't have, then you will have to give it some time and then think about that, and then you respond. One thing which works very well is, when you are angry or somebody has done something which makes you angry, just keep quiet for 3 days. 3 days. Suppose you are a boss and subordinate has not done something, or you are the parent and your child has done something wrong. You want to scold the child. Don't do it then and there. Wait for 3 days. Mostly it can be done. In very rare situation, it would be very urgent and you would have to respond immediately. But barring those situations, wait for 3 days. And then after 3 days, when you respond, you will see that automatically your anger has gone. And then now most of the times, I assure you that you will not respond even. After 3 days, you will just let it go. And wherever it is necessary to point it out, you will do it in a manner which will be very nice. So patience at the end of the day is the uh, greatest virtue. So thank you very much. We had a very good discussion about anger.
Sometimes,
Huh? Yeah, tell me.
Maharaj, sometimes issues may not be that personal, but we may come across some issues that happen around us that tend to disturb us. So it
Hmm.
may not, we may not be like able to address it, but it disturbs us. So will that also fall under the realm of
Yeah,
anger?
that is what here we have to understand another thing also, that is the difference between reaction and response. Most of the times we react, we don't respond. Suppose you see that government, for example, you are traveling in Indian Railways, for example, and you see that the railways
Right,
condition
right,
is
right.
not good and services are not good. Okay, you feel bad. You feel that this is
Right.
not how it should be done. But what do? We react. What do we
Mm.
do? We have so many passengers around us, and you say, "Dekho kya railway hai," and you for the next 2 hours or 3 hours you are just going on scolding railways. But that's a reaction. You have not done anything. Instead, what you do, you just see that, keep quiet, take your smartphone, lodge a complaint, and don't lodge a complaint with just one place. Lodge it at three different places, and then call two or three other people and ask them to rake up this issue. Take a YouTube video, post it in your YouTube channel. Take a video, shoot a video, and post it in your YouTube channel. Do all these things. That is responding to the problem, not just saying that this that anyone knows, and that you it's only making you angrier, and it's only eating away your time. You have not done anything constructive, you see. So this you will find particularly in the context of India. You will find it all the time, everywhere. Internet is supposed to be working, it is not
Mm.
working. Phone is supposed to be working, it is not working. Mobile phone is not working. You go on a road and the road is not good. You want water, water is not there. Electricity is not there. In countries like the US or in most of the European countries, people would not be able to understand this. For example, there was a devotee who came
Right.
some days back here. She is from Berkeley, and then she said, "Oh, there was some question about some government service, etc. in India." Then she said, "Why, Swami? We don't need to do like that. You just politely tell them, and then they will do it." I said, "No, this is not United States of America. This is India. It doesn't happen like that." So you have to lodge a complaint, and just lodging a complaint, nobody will care. You have to call a person who really matters, and then tell them that you have lodged a complaint. Then it works. You see. So you should now you should understand the social dynamics of every place. So that's how it works in India. So if you do that, then you have responded. Then you have actually done something. And at least, if not anything, what will happen? The next time people know that you are involved, they will be more careful. You see, in India, it's like that. You create a lot of hullabaloo about something, and the next time they say, "Oh, Shubhadeep is there. Arey, 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 jaldi kar do unka kaam, warna wo bada jhamela karte hain." So, at least at your level, you have solved the problem. So, each one of the citizens of India, if they think like that, then there could be a lot of difference. But what do we do in India? We only make a hue and cry. We don't actually respond. You see, we don't actually do
Yeah.
something about it. Uh, just like the Swachh Bharat, Clean
Mm.
India campaign. So Clean India
Mm.
campaign, everyone is saying Clean India, and then when they go in a train or they go in a bus and all that, they eat something and simply without even thinking, in the blink of an eye, they just put it outside the window, just like that. So where is it? So it's also Clean India goes with outside the window. That's all. You respond meaningfully. You do it at your own level, individual level, and then So most of the times it is, even when you see, so this is true even for not only at the social level, at the individual level also. When you see some problem with a person whom you are connected with, you respond to that person. You see, oh, this person is behaving like this. What could be the reason why this person is behaving like this? Then let me address this issue. What is this issue? Let me address this issue. And then you go and then you think and then you reflect and all that you do, and then you respond to that person. Don't react. Okay, thank you all of you. Today we, I think, had a good discussion on anger.